TIFFY time returns. Rhea Ripley and Sky send warning before Elimination Chamber Showdown. Tiffany Stratton's return as TIFFY time should have been WWE's feel-good comeback story, but what Rhea Ripley and Sky did to her on SmackDown wasn't just a warning, it was a brutal message that the Women's Elimination Chamber match is going to be the most violent and career-threatening event in WWE history. And here's what's going to make you absolutely furious: Rhea and aren't just targeting Tiffany because she's competition, they're targeting her because WWE management leaked that Tiffany is the chosen one to win the Chamber and main event WrestleMania, and Rhea and just declared war on WWE's corporate booking plans by promising to destroy Tiffany's body so badly that she can't make it to Mania even if she wins. Because what happened on SmackDown wasn't wrestling, it was a premeditated assault designed to send a message to both Tiffany and WWE management that Rhea Ripley and Sky refused to be supporting characters in someone else's WrestleMania story. And the beatdown they delivered? It left Tiffany broken, bloodied, and questioning whether her body can survive the Elimination Chamber, let alone WrestleMania. Tiffany Stratton has been out of action for 3 months recovering from a legitimate shoulder injury suffered during a botched spot with Nia Jax. During her absence, the women's division evolved dramatically. Rhea Ripley reclaimed her position as the division's most dominant force, Sky transitioned from high-flying babyface to calculated assassin, and the Women's World Championship picture became a bloodbath with no clear favorite. WWE announced that Tiffany would return on SmackDown for a major announcement regarding the Elimination Chamber. Everyone assumed she'd be announcing her entry into the match, standard comeback booking for a returning star. What nobody expected was how dark and vicious this segment would become. SmackDown opened with Tiffany's music hitting to a massive pop from the crowd. Tiffany walked out looking completely refreshed, shoulder healed, confidence restored, ready to reclaim her position as one of WWE's fastest rising stars. She had her signature TIFFY time energy, connecting with fans who genuinely missed her during the injury absence. Tiffany grabbed a microphone. "I'm back, and I'm here to announce that I'm entering the Women's Elimination Chamber match. And when I win, and I will win, I'm going to WrestleMania to become Women's World Champion and prove that TIFFY time isn't just a catchphrase, it's the future of this division." The crowd was eating it up, chanting TIFFY time loud enough to shake the arena. But then the lights went out. When they came back on, Rhea Ripley was standing on the stage with a look of absolute contempt on her face. Rhea didn't wait for her music or a formal entrance. She just grabbed a microphone and started tearing into Tiffany. "You've been gone 3 months, and you think you can just walk back in and declare yourself the future? You think you can skip the line, avoid the wars we've been fighting, and just announce you're winning the Chamber and going to WrestleMania?" The crowd started booing Rhea because they wanted to celebrate Tiffany's return, but Rhea kept going. "Tiffany, while you were sitting at home healing your shoulder and posting workout videos on Instagram, and I were destroying everyone in this division. We've earned our spots. We've bled for our positions. And you're not taking what we've built just because WWE decided you're the pretty blonde they want to push." Then Sky's music hit, and she emerged from the crowd, not from backstage, but from the audience, sliding into the ring behind Tiffany before anyone realized what was happening. The crowd started screaming warnings, but by the time Tiffany turned around, it was too late. Hit Tiffany with a German suplex before Tiffany could even drop the microphone. As Tiffany crashed to the mat, Rhea sprinted down the ramp and slid into the ring. What followed was a 2-on-1 assault that was genuinely difficult to watch. Rhea and weren't doing wrestling moves, they were delivering targeted strikes to Tiffany's previously injured shoulder. Stomps directly on the joint. Kicks to the arm. Rhea locked in a Fujiwara armbar, wrenching Tiffany's shoulder while delivered repeated forearms to Tiffany's face. The crowd was booing so loudly that commentary could barely be heard. Michael Cole was screaming for security, referees, anyone to stop this. But the attack continued for over 3 minutes before officials finally managed to pull Rhea and off Tiffany. But here's where it got worse. As officials were separating them, Rhea broke free, ran back, and hit Tiffany with a riptide DDT on the exposed concrete floor outside the ring. The sound of Tiffany's body hitting the floor was sickening. The crowd went from booing to genuinely concerned silence. Tiffany wasn't moving. Medical personnel immediately rushed to her side. And Rhea grabbed a microphone one more time. "That's your Elimination Chamber winner? That's your WrestleMania main eventer? She couldn't survive 5 minutes with us. What makes you think she'll survive the Chamber?" But Rhea wasn't done. She addressed the camera directly, clearly speaking to WWE management rather than just the live crowd. "We know what you're planning. We know you've already decided Tiffany is winning the Chamber. We've heard the producers talking. We've seen the WrestleMania plans being discussed. But here's what you need to understand, and I don't care about your plans. We don't care about your corporate booking decisions. And we're going to make Tiffany's body so broken that she physically cannot make it to WrestleMania, regardless of what you want." This was unprecedented. Rhea was essentially breaking the fourth wall, acknowledging WWE's backstage booking processes, and declaring that she and were going to sabotage those plans through violence. This wasn't heel work, this was a legitimate challenge to WWE's authority. Grabbed the microphone from Rhea. "Tiffany is talented. Tiffany is over with fans. but Tiffany hasn't earned a WrestleMania main event. She hasn't paid the price that Rhea and I have paid. So we're going to teach her what it costs to be at the top of this division. And that lesson starts at Elimination Chamber. The implications were terrifying. This wasn't just about winning the chamber match, this was about Rhea and Io promising to injure Tiffany so badly that even if she won, she'd be unable to compete at WrestleMania. Tiffany was stretchered out of the arena and taken for immediate medical evaluation. Updates throughout the show indicated that she'd suffered a re-aggravation of her shoulder injury, possible concussion from the riptide on the floor, and multiple contusions and lacerations. But here's what's infuriating: WWE let this happen. They knew Rhea and Io were going to deliver a physical warning. The cameras were positioned perfectly to capture every angle of the assault. The medical team was standing by. This wasn't a spontaneous attack, this was planned violence that WWE sanctioned because the controversy and brutality would generate buzz. WWE essentially sacrificed Tiffany's body and risked re-injuring her barely healed shoulder for the sake of creating a shocking moment on television. And Tiffany, being the dedicated performer she is, took real damage to sell the storyline. Latest reports indicate Tiffany will be medically evaluated throughout the week to determine if she can still compete in the Elimination Chamber. Which is WWE speak for, we injured our planned winner and now we're figuring out if she can physically make it through the match we've already booked her to win. The women's locker room reaction to this segment is fascinating and divided. Some wrestlers are furious at Rhea and Io for being so reckless with Tiffany's previously injured shoulder. The concern is that if this becomes acceptable behavior, everyone is at risk of having their old injuries targeted for storyline purposes. But there's another faction that supports what Rhea and Io did, not the violence specifically, but the message. These are wrestlers who've been frustrated that WWE keeps pushing newer stars over veterans who've paid their dues. They see Tiffany getting a potential WrestleMania main event after being out 3 months, while wrestlers like Rhea and Io have been carrying the division as evidence of WWE's favoritism. One wrestler who requested anonymity said, "I love Tiffany, but Rhea and Io have a point. Why does Tiffany get to return from injury and immediately be positioned for WrestleMania when the rest of us have been killing ourselves for months trying to get those opportunities?" WWE creates these situations where veterans feel like they have to be extra aggressive to protect their spots. That's a damning indictment of WWE's booking philosophy, that they create such insecurity and competition that wrestlers feel justified in legitimately injuring each other to maintain position. The Women's Elimination Chamber match now has nuclear stakes. The confirmed participants are Tiffany Stratton, if medically cleared, Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, Bayley. On paper, this is an incredible lineup of talent. But the psychology has completely changed because of this SmackDown segment. This isn't just 6 women competing to see who's best, this is Rhea and Io promising to hunt Tiffany throughout the match while the other 3 participants try to survive the violence. The Elimination Chamber structure itself makes this even more dangerous. Steel cage walls, steel floors, steel pods. There are multiple ways for Rhea and Io to use the environment to cause serious damage to Tiffany. And WWE has made it clear they're willing to let this get brutal. The betting odds have completely flipped. Before this segment, Tiffany was the favorite. Now, most people are betting on either Rhea or Io because the narrative has shifted from who will win to can Tiffany survive. About 4 hours after SmackDown ended, Tiffany posted on social media and her message was defiant. "Rhea and Io think attacking me will make me scared? Think targeting my shoulder will make me back down? All they did was remind me why I fight so hard to be at the top. I'm competing in the Elimination Chamber. I'm winning the Elimination Chamber. And I'm going to WrestleMania to prove that TIFFY time isn't just a moment, it's an era. See you in the chamber." The post got millions of interactions within hours. Fans are divided: half are inspired by Tiffany's resilience, half are concerned she's putting her career at risk by competing when she's clearly compromised. But Tiffany's response reveals something important: she's not backing down. WWE could have written her out, done an injury angle, and postponed her push. Instead, they're leaning into the brutality and positioning this as, can Tiffany overcome violence and injury to achieve her dreams? It's compelling storytelling, but it's also potentially dangerous because it normalizes working through injuries that could cause permanent damage. What makes this situation even more complex is understanding why Rhea Ripley and Io Sky are working together. Historically, they've been rivals, different styles, different presentations, competing for the same spots. But sources indicate they've formed an alliance based on mutual frustration with WWE's booking patterns. Both have been world champions. Both have main event major shows. Both are incredibly talented and over with fans. Yet both have felt like WWE treats them as transitional rather than franchise players. So when they learned, allegedly through backstage conversations, that WWE was planning to position Tiffany as the division's next big star potentially at their expense, they decided to unite against what they perceive as WWE's favoritism. One source described their alliance as, "It's not that they dislike Tiffany personally. It's that they're tired of WWE bringing in pretty blondes with potential and immediately pushing them over women who've already proven they can carry the division. So they're making a statement: you want to push Tiffany? She's going to have to survive us first. That's powerful motivation for their characters, but it also exposes real frustration about WWE's historical tendency to favor certain types of women over others regardless of accomplishments. If Tiffany somehow survives Rhea and Io's onslaught and wins the Elimination Chamber, she'll face the Women's World Champion at WrestleMania. But the real story isn't the championship, it's whether Tiffany will be physically capable of performing at WrestleMania after the damage she's taking. WWE is essentially booking themselves into a corner. Either 1. Tiffany wins the chamber but is so injured she can't have a great WrestleMania match. 2. Rhea or Io wins instead, validating their claims that Tiffany wasn't ready. 3. Tiffany somehow wins and performs well at Mania, which would require either superhuman toughness or WWE protecting her more than the storyline suggests. None of these outcomes are ideal from a booking perspective, which raises the question: did WWE think this through, or did they create a situation that's going to be difficult to resolve satisfactorily? Tiffany Stratton's TIFFY time return was supposed to be a celebration, but Rhea Ripley and Io Sky turned it into a nightmare by delivering a brutal warning that the Elimination Chamber will be a war of survival rather than a wrestling match. The assault left Tiffany injured, the locker room divided, and WWE facing criticism for allowing violence that risks re-injuring a barely healed performer. Rhea and Io exposed WWE's backstage plans and declared they'll sabotage corporate booking through violence. Tiffany responded with defiance, promising to compete despite her compromised condition. And the Women's Elimination Chamber has become the most anticipated and dangerous match heading into WrestleMania season. What's your take? Are Rhea and Io justified in their frustration with WWE's booking? Is Tiffany being reckless by competing injured? Should WWE protect their stars better or let storylines be this brutal? Explode in the comments, because this is the most divisive women's storyline in years. If this breakdown gave you the full story, smash the like button and share everywhere. Subscribe to Wrestling News CC because the Elimination Chamber is approaching and will cover every development in this violent saga. TIFFY time returned, but Rhea and Io promised to make sure it ends in the chamber.